The money. Hopefully, you can hear me. You can see me. I'm driving down the road. I'm not sure what the Wi-Fi is like. Say hi to Sheila, everybody. Hey, hey, we are headed to Charleston, South Carolina. We just finished doing a meeting in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're hanging with the truckers right here, baby. Come on, right there. Blow your horn, Big Rig. So we were in Richmond, Virginia yesterday. We'll be in Charleston tonight for a big dinner, and then tomorrow for an event. Then on to Hilton Head tomorrow night. Then Puerto Rico for the weekend. So all kinds of good stuff happening. Couple things I wanted to cover today. This is going to be a short meeting. It's going to be a fast meeting because I'm not sure how the internet's holding out. By the way, if if you lose my voice, wave at me or something, and I'll cut the video feed. But right now, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me clearly. And I'm just going up the cellular. Good, good. You're so awesome. Okay, so I'm all hot on the events trail right now. We if you're not doing events, do events. We had people come and just sign up. We had people come and fall in love with us. That doesn't happen when you're talking to them at Starbucks. They're like, what is this EXP thing? When they come to an event, and so do them monthly, like every 30 days. You now, if they're happening for you in your area, just plug in. You don't have to deal with it. I've been doing events. I created them, and we do them every month. Do them every month. So a couple of things, tips on events. It's going to be a short call today. When you're in Richmond, they forgot to announce they didn't have the next event lined up. Hey, next month we're probably gonna, you know, do an event. We're thinking it's going to be on investment, and that's good. But it's much better if you have a slide made. You put it up. Hey, next month, same time, same place, same bat channel. We get the speaker coming on how to become a superstar listing agent. Bob is going to talk about this. Jill's going to talk about that. Here's Jill's qualifications. She is listed. She has sold. And then you go, everyone save the date. We'll see you next month. And then you do each meeting from a meeting. And if you'll do that, and a lot of you are like, well, in my area, there's only going to be 20 people. Good. You have 15 people there, 10 people there. Do small meetings, blow out the room. Do small meetings, blow out the room. And then the lights matter. The lighting matters. Did you have music on before or after? Was it confusing to get to? Did you ask people, hey, greet them at the door, put somebody else at the stairs, greet them here, send it right this way, and you funnel them right in. Bathrooms here, meeting events here. Did you have hot coffee? Was it lukewarm? Did you have one thing of coffee? At one of our locations, we ran out of coffee. Everyone's up to drink decaf. Like decaf is like toxic. I mean, it shouldn't even be allowed. So did you bring enough coffee? Pay attention to details. Did you have the music on? Was it cranking? Did you turn it up? As more and more people show up, you turn it up louder and louder. Then you cut the music and do the intro. When it's over, crank the music on again. And I'm just telling you, you want to grow. That's what it takes to grow. And you can go to brentgove.com, click on upcoming events, look at all my topics. You brainstorm a list of topics you think are relevant. Maybe have a meeting. Hey, we're going to do a meeting on the new NAR, what it means. Like, no one's ever used buyer broker out in the West Coast. Everybody nationwide has to sign a buyer broker agreement. Buyers have now become like listings. Buyers are like listings. You must meet with them. You must sign a buyer broker agreement, and you must put on there what your commission's going to be. That's really new. With buyers, it used to be the wild, wild west. You take them out, they get inspired, you write an offer, and you got what was ever in the MLS. Not anymore. Starting in July, this could be great. You can put down your my commission is 3%. Do you want to pay it, or do you want the seller to pay it? The seller normally pays it. I want the seller to pay it. Done. This is super easy. And instead of getting 2.5, like a lot of your MLS says, you're going to get 3. So congratulations, you just got a pay raise. So you're like, oh no, this guy is falling. No, no, no. This is super, super easy. Hey, the seller's been paying this for 100 years. The seller will continue to pay it. Or, according to the big settlement you saw on Fox News and CNN, they want the option for you to pay it. So I have to ask you, would you like to pay this 3% fee? No, I don't want to pay it. I go, yeah, I don't think you should either. You're already paying closing costs and down payment. So you want the seller to pay it? Yes, I do. Okay, 3%, boom. I cannot tell you many markets the compensation is 3%. On many markets, the compensation is 3%, 2.5%. And then on a lot of markets, the competition is 2.5%. So guess what? You are now going to get three. And you can put my fees 10%. Before you were stuck if it said 1.5%, that was your commission. Two, 2.5, 2.25, three. And the pressure on commissions is going down. This, you could say my fee is 10%. You literally there's negotiable. If your buyer says, yeah, no, I don't want to pay it, make the seller pay the 10%. You tell the seller, now it's going to be a taller order to get that, but you could do 4%. Hey, is your seller willing to pay 4%? Because if he is, I'll bring my buyer by. If he's not willing to pay the 4%, I'm not going to bring my buyer by. And you have to, the first week on the market, the seller's not going to pay 4%, but he might pay 4% the first month on the market, 2-3 months in. And so you actually can earn more. And if you don't have the courage to do that, we'll start at 2.5. And as you become stronger inside, you can put 3%. And if you get stronger inside, you can put 3.5 and 4. Why does H&R Block do your taxes for $150? Because that's what they believe they're worth. What could you charge? Yep, I've seen the posts. Coach Randy Bird. You can put transaction fees in there, paid by the seller. This is a pay raise, not a pay cut. We're going to get through this, and you can thank them because you used to not be able to negotiate whatever the MLS said. If the MLS said it was $2,500 commission, you couldn't really negotiate that, and that was your commission. So a lot of agents would discourage their buyer from buying that property if they can think of anything negative to say. Now you could say, hey, I'm simply not willing to show that property unless you cooperate at X percentage. So it's pretty cool. That's my understanding. I could be off, could be wrong. But I believe I am not wrong and accurate. That's the whole point, is commissions are negotiable and they can no longer put in the MLS what they are. So they're anything. And some attorneys charge 500 an hour. Some attorneys charge 5,000 an hour. What's the difference? Some people believe they're worth that and other people don't. Why do people wash dishes, bus tables, and host? Because that's what they think they're capable of. I was never a waiter. I didn't think I was good enough to be a waiter. I never got the big tips. I get $20 worth of tips when the waiters would get 200. So you get what you expect in this life. So a little off topic there, but that could be one of your monthly topics. And trust me, people want to come to that stuff. So, and pay attention. You don't have to serve lunch. You don't have to serve food. Coffee, water, tea, granola bars from Costco in a nice organized thing. This is not an expensive thing. And do the meetings at mortgage companies, title companies, attorneys' offices, in their conference room. Like, I got 18 people coming, so that the table holds 10. I need 8 more chairs in the room. And then you end up with 10 people and 8 empty chairs. Your meeting's awkward. Have the 10 chairs hidden in another room. And if you get 10, it fills up, bring out 2 or 3 as you need them. All of a sudden, you got 18 seats filled and you get 5 more. Now you get 23 people in the room that holds 10. And it's exciting. There's energy. I mean, the details matter. Anyways, we're fired up. That's all I got for you today. We're going from meeting to meeting to meeting. Some of the best meetings are short meetings. It sounds like we're able to hold on, right? Yep, I think the internet. Shelly's my driver. She's a very expensive driver. I had to buy her lunch. She's like super expensive. Actually, she bought me lunch. She's the best driver ever. It's great. Hey, love you guys. We'll be back at 2:10 Pacific on Mastering Sales with Brent Gove. But because I have John Jennings, who has, I don't know, 15, 20 homes in escrow. He's going to teach the mastering sales part. Please come back and honor John Jennings, who runs the Made for More team. That's my real estate team here in Sacramento, California. I partnered with John Jennings. He's a genius. And Johnny's a stud. So he's going to cover me while I'm doing Nelson on the road again. So love you guys. See you. Mwah. We'll see you next week. Sorry that I'm a traveling fool. Oh, we got a couple hands up. So Drew, I'll go to you last because we do ladies first around here. So Joanne, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm a Canadian, so that the changes didn't really affect me, but would that matter, like when you're multi offers and my buyer wants me paid 3% and somebody else is saying that their buyer wants 2%? Will that not help my buyer?
Well, you're Canadian. Or where do you practice real estate?
Halifax, Nova
Halifax.
Scotia. So we
Yeah,
don't
well,
have that. Those rules haven't affected us yet, but they're probably going to come.
yeah. Right now,
Yeah.
I speak to how you do it in Canada. So
So
I
right
apologize.
now, it's same as it used to be for you guys. The sellers set the price and we get whatever they choose, right?
Right. So there you go. You answered your own question. So, yeah, but if you're Italian, these things don't apply to you because no, I, I can't help myself. I'm Canadian. This doesn't apply to me. I love it. I love it.
And so I just think I'm devil's advocate. So I'm thinking about everybody down there. If you're in multi offers, and we're still in multiple offers up here. So I'm just, I'm being devil's advocate. What do you do when you're in a multiple offer situation, right? So
Yeah. Um, Not sure. Coach Randy, you want to take a stab at that?
Canada's totally different.
There you go. Good stab. All
Yeah.
right, move forward.
Canada's totally different.
All right, cool. I can't say I don't know. Lisa, your turn. I'm sorry, Joanne. I don't know the answer to that one.
that's all right. I like
So
asking
I
tough
was
questions.
thinking, like, say we charge the 6% like we normally do, and then the buyer is willing to pay a commission. So do we get to keep the whole six for
Yeah.
ourselves as a listing agent?
In the listing agreement, you put 6 and then you put 3 in the cooperating. You just can't advertise it in the MLS anymore, right? And then they get to negotiate with you and say, no, I'm not going to bring my buyer unless you pay me 4%, 3. So it's kind of weird. We're going to kind of feel our way through this. It's early on.
Mhm.
And I may be wrong in some of my interpretation of how this is going to pan out. They may bring some clarity. Does anybody have some clarity beyond what I've said?
Yes,
We'll have to
whatever's
share it
today
and
is going to change in the future, most
progression.
likely anyway.
Best I can understand.
So would we
Was
be
somebody
doing
talking?
at 6 or we would be doing listings say at 3 and then just seeing if,
So,
because I'm thinking
so,
about doing 6 and see,
I can help you. I would pose it like this. And again, these might change as we go and they'll be different between MLSs and so on. But you're going to be we set a line between seller and buyers agents now. So we have a responsibility to the seller. You'll negotiate with the seller. The good thing is you're talking about only the seller commission at first. 3% sounds a lot better than 5 or 6. So negotiate with the seller. And then you would say, seller, I'm not allowed to compensate the buyer's agent any longer. What would you like to, if anything, from 0 to whatever you like, compensate the buyer's agent for their work? Right? For 100 years, they've been paying the commission one way or another. It's still the same conversation. It's just before it came to the agent and the agent paid the co-op broker through the MLS affiliation. That's no longer. They've separated those two. So it's got to be the seller compensating the buyer's agent or offering concession to the buyers and buyer's agent, not through us. So we basically just delineated those two, which is actually a good thing, because now when you go to show a house, you're not held ransom with the person that only took it at 1% or whatever they did, right? You're negotiating your own commissions now. Hopefully that helps.
thank you.
It does.
Randy,
And
I think that speaks also to the earlier question about the Canadians' concern, which was, if you're in a multiple offer situation, right? We had mentioned or had heard that the potential new rule, you're allowed to reduce but not increase. So if you go with a 4% buyer rep agreement and you get a multiple offer situation, you're allowed to reduce it to 2% or 2.5% if that benefits your buyer, knowing that you will not be able to increase it. Is that accurate, Randy?
yeah,
Yes. So basically, if I make a buyer broker agreement with Brent Gove and I say, I'm willing to handle you as a buyer for only 2%, and then we look at a house that's at 2%, and that's why we wrote it. Well, if we go to another house that's offered 3% on the MLS, we're not allowed to make that 3% because we have an agreement with the buyer for 2% that supersedes what the seller's willing to pay. Right. So don't undercut yourself and think that, hey, this buyer's a friend of mine. I don't want to lose them. I'm going to do them at 1 or 1.5 or 2%. If you show a house that's at 3%, you're only legally entitled and can only collect on the maximum of your buyer broker representation agreement.
Yep. I would put 3% on everything and go,
Absolutely.
I'll do you for 2%. So if we get one of them where it's 3%, I'll give you the other 1% towards your closing costs. On a $600,000 home, it's a $6,000 gift from me to you.
That's
And
right.
so I put 2 when we could get 3, and then I wouldn't want to throw away $6,000 for you. So that's one thing you could do. The other thing is, remember, guys, this doesn't start till July. You have till July. Everyone, take a breath. You have till July, and so you're going to have to do a buyer broker with every client. You can't even show property without a buyer broker. But it starts. My understanding is in July 20.
Yeah, mid-July.
Once ratified, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And things could change again still. It could be stayed. It can be amended.
What?
It can be all kinds of things can happen, but that's the goal right now.
Absolutely. Okay, and then real quick, Joanne, did you have another question? I noticed you showed back up.
I do. Okay, so further to that, okay, so now I've got a thing that they say they're willing to pay 3% and I've got an agreement for 2. Could I not do an amendment with my buyer?
Yes, you could amend anything at any time. It's all negotiation,
Okay.
but it's
cool.
not an assumption.
Right.
Before we were presumed to make the money that was a contractual agreement through the MLS. That's gone. That's
Right.
effectively what happened throughout this is that MLS agreement to pay compensation to a cooperating broker is gone. They want to separate those two.
Okay. Cool.
Hey,
I hope it does come to Canada.
And Canada's everything I said, forget about Canada. I'm not sure about Canada.
When I got my weekly thing. for
I
you
love
guys.
it. Our Canadian that
Breaking up a little bit, Brent.
Hold on. I'm not there yet, Drew. I know. I didn't forget you. So, okay, hold on. Turn off. I'm too.
If you
thing's
take your
slow.
video
okay,
off,
can you hear
it's
me now?
probably
How
better.
about
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, better.
I took off. All right, good. So I love it. Our Canadian agent is asking more questions about this, and it doesn't even apply to her. So the rest of you U.S. agents who are sitting there quiet, won't say anything stupid or ask a dumb question. The question you're not wanting to ask is probably the question that should be asked. So real quick, rapid fire, please ask questions. I'm going to go to Lisa, who's been waiting patiently, then Tom. Lisa, did you have a question? Muted. We can't hear you, Lisa.
I'm sorry. I just can't figure out how to get my hand down. So I'm
Okay.
good.
Back to reactions, and it
Thank
says
you.
low. All right, Jamal, fire away. You're muted, Jamal. There
Hey
you go.
Brent. Hey Brent. Sorry, no, I'm also driving, so I'm gonna keep the camera off. I do have a quick question though.
No problem.
So, just kind of anticipating some of these new changes as the selling agent. Hello, can you hear me?
Keep going.
Noel's got a hot mic.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry.
So as the selling agent and you're dealing with an unrepresented buyer, I'm curious how how much we're going to see more unrepresented buyers in the market, and will this mean that they'll be forfeiting a lot of their earnest money deposits when they're missing deadlines, because that is the most likely occurrence.
yeah. Well, the point is you can't show property unless you tell them, I can't even show you property unless you sign that buyer broker agreement. That's the law. And so just sign this real quick and I'll go show you property. And they're like, oh, okay, if that's the law. Yeah, you saw the news, right? Yep. What's that 3%? I go, well, that's what the whole thing was about. The whole thing was about that this fee was been paid by the sellers for 100 years, and now they want the buyer to have the option to pay it. So, Mrs. Buyer, Mr. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would you like to pay this 3% fee? No. That's what I thought. So we simply have the seller pay it. All right, thanks. Sign here. Done. And now you're getting 3% on everything instead of 2.5. Like I said, this is a pay raise. You can also write in the $4.95 transaction fee. Do you want to pay that or you want the seller to pay it? Because we didn't really, very few people did that because it was weird. Now it's not weird. Everything's open. You can pay it or the seller can pay it. The seller typically will pay these fees, these transaction fees. What do you want? Oh, I want the seller to pay it. Okay, boom. Seller pays this, seller pays that. So now you get 3% plus a $4.95 transaction fee every time you sell a house. That's pretty. And so Jamal, there won't be buyers have to sign this. Period. Well, I don't want to sign that. I just want to go see property. I'm not legally allowed to show you property. That's the law. So, and if someone has a different understanding, please, that's your understanding, right? That's how it works. Yeah. Okay. So Jamal, good question. Any other question before we go to Tom, who's been waiting patiently? Jamal, you're muted, buddy.
Yeah, no, I wanted to follow up. I'm sorry, but I wasn't quite. I don't think I quite understood. So what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about for the buyer side. I'm saying if a buyer doesn't want to sign this agreement, then I'm just going to assume that they're going to be an unrepresented buyer, or is it that there can be no unrepresented buyers now? Say, for example, someone sees a listing on Zillow, they want to go and speak directly with the listing agent.
Yep. Then the listing agent has a great chance to double end the sale. And they say, so you got to sign a buyer broker agreement with me. I can't show my own listing and my fee is 3%. And now they're going to get 6%. So it's a great opportunity for listing agents to double in. It's just
Okay,
period.
got it.
Kind of,
Got it.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. And then we have Julia. Julia, fire away.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Let's say I sign exclusive buyer brokerage agreement and I check that the seller will pay 3% commission. And I show the property, my clients like it, and seller refuses to pay 3% commission. So what is next under this scenario?
Right. So I would say, all right, thanks. We'll take our buyer elsewhere. So you negotiate the commission up front. You just call and say, you just say, is your seller willing to pay 3% commission? Because if they are, I'm going to bring my buyer over. And if they're not, we're going to move on. And so you move on, right? That's your fee. Buyer said they don't want to pay it. So, you're going to have to, now if your buyer pushes, says, I want to see that property, then you got to make a decision whether you're willing to work for less than 3%. And that's just your decision. Does that make sense?
Okay. But like if the listing agent would tell me like seller is not willing to pay anything to co-op agent. So I guess and if they desperately want to see the property, they would need to get in touch with the listing agent to see it.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, you can't really help them. You can only help agent people who want to cooperate. And so
Yeah.
there's
Well, I guess another conversation, say guys, like this is the scenario, I will be happy to show, but you just need to be responsible for paying the commission in case if you like the property and want to proceed forward with the offer.
yeah, but if they've told you they're not going to pay it and they want the listing agent to pay it, so there's just, you're going to have to learn how to massage it as we go. You're going to get better at it. It's not big deal. On the East Coast, they've been doing buyer broker for decades, and it's like no big deal. Do you guys do buyer?
Yeah.
And is it a big deal?
Big deal
They
at all.
can't see it. They can
We
hear
just
you.
explain it to the
Shelly's from Charlotte, North Carolina. She does 150 million a year in sales, and they use buyer broker. It's weird to all of you who don't, but Shelly, 150 million a year in sales. Tell them what it's like to use buyer broker. Do you hate it?
love it because everybody knows exactly how we're playing in the game, and we deal with it right on the front end with the listing side. The listing client knows what they're paying the buyer agent, so it's not weird at all, and it explains it, and everyone feels like they're being treated fairly. So it's worked really well. I've done it in Maryland and in Charlotte, and both states are very good. I mean, it works out fine. The buyers understand it too. So that's a good thing. The one thing I will say is what it does is it forces you not to be a taxi cab driver, not to work with insincere people who really want to just use your time. So it makes you have those critical conversations up front.
Keep going. You're doing good.
That's the best part about it, is to have those conversations right away rather than down the road. and it gets that conversation going first. I would encourage all of you guys to do Zoom interviews with your buyers before you meet with them, and get them connected with your lenders right away, and save yourself driving time and family time, and have those conversations, because you can get both parties on the phone at the same time, husband and wife, or whatever the situation is, whether it's brother and sister buying a house together, whoever the party or parties are together, you get everyone on the same page, everyone thinking the same way, and it gives clarity to everybody.
Quick question, Shelley,
Yeah.
and you guys are going to find this interesting. I'm going to prove a point here. If you get 10 listings, how many of the 10 sellers cooperate and pay a buyer's agent commission? 100% of the time. So we go negative, and I'm not saying you were negative, but like, but what if they won't pay anything? It's the last 100 listings,
All of them pay.
100 for 100, they pay the cooperating commission. So
Complicated as agents.
yeah, they pay it.
Lead with confidence, and that this is what we do, and this is how we practice real estate. I promise you, they will pay you.
Yep. So the listing agent's going to list that thing at 6% with the 3% co-op, or 5% with the 2.5% co-op. They just can't advertise it. Now you may go 3 and like, well, we're only doing 2.5. Then you decide if you're willing to do 2.5. Or you could say, I'm sorry, my fee is 3 if the seller's willing to go up 0.5%. You couldn't do that before. You had to take what they gave you. Oh, this one's 2%. You had to take what you get. Now you say, sorry, not working for 2%. If you're willing to do 3%, call your seller. I will do 3%. Now, the first week, you're not going to get it. The second week, they start to panic. The third and the fourth week, they'll go up from 2% to 3%. So what you think is a negative is a positive. Did you?
I was just going to say, they basically, these buyers and sell the buyers. I lost my train of thought. Forgive me.
All right. We're driving. We're driving through downtown, whatever. We're on our way to Charleston. Okay, I'm going to move. We're going to do really fast answers. Hope that was helpful. Tom's been waiting forever. Tom Costello, fire away.
Hey, brother, thanks. The uncomfortable conversation that is coming for all of us is that when you've got with a low inventory market, there's not a lot of homes to choose from. And when they find the home that checks all the boxes, and you do the Brent Gove way of making offers, and it's 10-day close, and it's cash, and this and that and the other, and boom, boom, boom. And then they say, oh, and we're not paying your buyer's commission, buyer's agent commission. Now you've got to go and have that conversation with your seller. And I get having the conversation up front, but now it becomes, are you going to be a selfish agent and not show this home to your client that checks all their boxes? Or worse, if they find it, which clients are doing, they're finding on Zillow, we want to see this home, and the seller's not paying a commission. Now we've got to get it from our buyer. 100% agree that agents have to get a buyer broker agreement signed. It absolutely has to. But the conversation really becomes that the buyer is going to have to pay that agent commission. It's a misnomer to think they don't. Even right now, it's kind of silly because the buyer's agent commission comes out of the buyer's proceeds. So they are paying it whether they know it or not. It's kind of semantics, whether it comes out of the listing agent commission or the buyer's agent commission. They're paying. And to say that, homes are now all of a sudden become 3% cheaper because sellers don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission, that's incorrect. That's not going to happen. So it's really whoever thought of this should be shot in the head, quite frankly, because it's such a pain in the ass, and it solves nothing. And buyers aren't going to save money, sellers aren't going to save money. It's just going to make everything more difficult. So my question to Randy, you mentioned this earlier. Is this your understanding that now it's law that buyers? I know we have to get a buyer. Brent, you said it has to be like, I can't show you legally without a buyer broker agreement. Is it law that buyers have to pay it now, or that's still negotiable?
Is it law that buyers have to pay it? No. The law says that to get paid, you have to have a buyer broker agreement, a contract. So you can show houses for free. People think you cannot open a house or look at a house without a buyer broker agreement. You can. It's just for free. So if you want to donate your time to the world, then that's an option. But to get paid, we have to have a unilateral contract with the buyer, where before it came through the seller to the seller's agent, distributed through the MLS to the buyer. That was the contractual agreement. So now they've been separated.
So that can still happen, right? The seller can still pay it if they choose to, but
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the seller has to pay the buyer's agent directly now. So before they were like this, seller, seller's agent, buyer, buyer's agent. It used to go this way and then across. It has to go across and not through you now. That's the biggest way to explain it.
And is
the seller's allowed to pay a concession or commission, which could be put in the MLS, right? That's a possibility. But the reality is they can't pay the seller's agent is not involved in the buyer's commission anymore.
And that's law.
So hold on. I'm reading point 2 from NAR. All realtors and MLS participants must have a buyer broker agreement executed prior to touring any home. So
that is correct. There's some MLSs not in NAR. So that's why I said there's exceptions. But if you're in a NAR MLS and you're part of NAR, it's law that you have to have this agreement prior to showing. It's a contractual agreement.
Yeah. Hey,
Please mute yourself. Everyone mute yourself, please.
Yep.
The good thing about this, the takeaway for me is it sounds scary, but if everybody's doing it, it makes it easier for us. How many times have we been told buyers are coming back or they just want to look at the house? I'm not working with an agent. It stops all that now. What would make it unfair if we're the only company doing it? But everybody has to do it. So it's making the playing field actually much easier for us to have truthful conversations with our buyer relationships and contracts, right? So to me, and now you're in control of your commission. Hey, I get paid 3%. That's my rate. Now I'm going to do everything I can to get the seller to pay some of that. Maybe we could offer concessions. There's lots of things we can do, but this is what I'm worth. And then we can renegotiate later if that doesn't take place. But at least now you're leading with your highest and best use of commission available.
So Randy, are you not telling your buyers then in that conversation that if the seller doesn't pay it, then Mr. Buyer, you're going to be responsible to pay?
That's 100% accurate, Tom.
Then yeah, it's
100% accurate. It's so you might have to look for houses that only are willing to offer a buyer's agent commission, concession. So you may have to look at a couple houses and they're like, we're not paying anything. Well, neither is my buyer. So it's just not a good fit for us. Right. As long as the buyer understands that, that's what this agreement is clarifying.
Okay. Hey guys, let me I got to wrap this up. And Shelly's here. She uses the buyer broker for 15 years.
She's the master
expert. I want her to have the final word on this. Everybody else who's been waiting, I apologize. I'm going to tackle this topic for about an hour next week on Mastering Sales with Brent Gove. We're going to get some experts. We'll have more information so that the Mastering Sales part next week, we're going to, because obviously you guys are super interested, but final word to Shelly, because she knows what she uses that. Go ahead.
I think what will happen is ultimately there's going to be an addendum. The buyer and seller both agree. It's going to start on the listing side, and then we're going to have what Randy said on the buy side for sure, and on the listing side, it's just going to have more clarity. It's going to start there, and I think what's going to happen is it's going to be an addendum to our contract that's going to get uploaded to MLS as opposed to being like a little ticket item in there. It says 3%. So I think that's what's going to happen if I had to guess.
I agree with you. Totally.
We're going to wrap it for today because we could keep going forever. This is a great topic. So I can tell you guys are super interested. So I'm going to repeat it. Next Tuesday at 2:10 Pacific, 5:10 Eastern, we'll probably go for a good 40 minutes on this topic, and we'll have more information for you. Remember, it does not start till July 24th. July 24th. So we got time. Everybody breathe. It's going to be a good thing. Love you guys. And don't forget, John Jennings is on in 6 minutes with Mastering Sales with Brent Gove. I think he has 15, 20 homes in escrow right now. The guy's a beast or more. So we'll see you then. Love you all. I'm in Charleston, cobblestone streets. Thomas Edison and Benjamin Franklin's walking around. Crazy. I got to go. So
thank you, Brent. Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate you guys.
Take care, guys.